Day is the day everyone has been waiting for. Yes, indeed, right after lunch, Amber Heard did take the stand, and hey, I'm going to give her props to begin with. I might have a little bit of a different take than some other people that are out there when she was explaining some of her childhood, her upbringing, as it were. Some of it was, at least compelling. It was believable, and hey, as well, she has a very listenable to, or rather a listenable voice. Okay, she has a pleasant delivery. It's something that you can listen to and we're expected to hear for multiple days, of course, but that's about where the compliments end. But before we get to what happened after lunch, we have to address what happened before lunch, and I wanted to give everybody at least just a somewhat of a pleasant picture to look at, even though it's like she continues to dress like, I don't know, a fucking vice principal at a middle school, but yeah, no, this is the way that it started the day, with the cross-examination of Dr. Karen Dawn Hughes, which is once again another affront to that name, and boy howdy did the cross-examination just fucking trip over their own dick. They missed literally everything that they could possibly try to do to fucking undermine this self-absorbed ultra Karen. Like, for fuck's sake, she was on tilt multiple times, okay? She has this perception. The way that she presented herself to the court is she is always the smartest person to enter any room. She has never been wrong about anything, and anything that has a dick is wrong at every fucking moment. You could have poked and prodded at her multiple times, just poking inconsistencies, exposing her bias into her evaluation of the situation, and the fact that they had multiple different tests that were up there, which were just basically self-admission checks. Hey, do you feel like this? Okay, cool, you have that PTSD diagnosis that you really so desperately wanted, and I'm so smart that it doesn't really much matter if this is the quote-unquote gold standard when it comes to properly diagnosing PTSD. I'm so smart, and I've been doing this for 25 fucking years, that I can make my own diagnosis, and that test, the gold standard, it's just merely a formality. It doesn't matter that I didn't fill everything out. I am smarter, and everything else that could have been filled out in that test, even though it's kind of the quote-unquote gold standard in every other industry, that you fill out the fucking paperwork in case anybody has to go back over it. But no. All of the answers that I left blank, they're in my notes, my 80 pages of notes. So I didn't need to point out a specific incident that would have been the trigger point, the anchoring point when it comes to post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, everything that needs to be detailed is just in my notes. You should know that, okay? She is insufferable, and I hope that I never, ever, ever see her again in my entire life. But something else that she was also mentioning, I'll just go back up to the top, is that Amber Heard's weight dropped from 130 to 105 pounds as she began to take significantly more medication and experienced episodes of panic due to Johnny Depp's abuse, forensic psychologist testifies. That's funny, right? Because she was qualified as an expert in forensic psychologist, and what did she do with her testimony and her cross-examination and her redirect? Mostly was just an advocate for Amber Heard. It's like, it was preposterous. It was difficult to listen to, mostly because I gave Amber Heard props for being at least somebody who has a pleasant tone of voice. Pleasant might be a little bit of a strong word, okay? It's an auditorially pleasing voice to listen to. Karen, on the other hand, is just the complete fucking exact opposite. But here, okay, this is what she was saying, right? And Amber Heard's weight dropped to a desperate level. She was only 105 pounds, okay, in 2015, right at the height of this? Okay, so we got pictures, right? Because cameras were invented all the way back some 7 years ago, right? And I know culture shifted just a little bit, where we're all just very accustomed to these fucking behemoth land whales that are just waddling around everywhere, but cast your mind back to, a simpler time when people were looking. I can see why Super Simp Maximus Johnny Depp decided to, to fucking put up with this nonsense, because that's Heard 105 pounds, right? Does she look sickly at all? You can see her. Okay, this is apparently while they were at in 2015, during the height of their tumultuous relationship. If it was so tumultuous and there was so much abuse, she's wearing such a low-cut top, okay, she has her arms exposed and everything, she got her ankles out, which is very haram. Wouldn't you think that she'd be showing off some of those injuries or something like that? Or if she was just being such a kept woman, why would she be out there dressed like that? I'm just asking questions. But yeah, no. The fact that, oh my god, she lost 25 pounds on the fact that, yeah, now she looks like the fucking substitute gym teacher. It's like, that's really kind of a fucking stretch if you ask me. But then again, what are the fucking, the hotness of the day? You got that pre-diabetic baby Rexa or whatever, and fucking whatever those old washed up Kardashian clans with a BMI that rivals their ages. But long and short of it, the cross-examination of Dr. Karen left a lot to be desired. There was an opportunity there, and this might have been at the judge's discretion to just bring in this previous relationship, the one relationship that was at least public that Amber Heard had prior to hooking up with Johnny Depp, that ended up, well, ending in a domestic violence arrest. Yes, alluded to it yesterday, but yeah, no, just for posterity's sake, right? In 2009, Heard was arrested for domestic violence against, what the fuck's her name? Tasia Van Ree. The name seems appropriate. But even just looking at the body language in this picture, you can tell which one drives the pickup truck and the other one that, you know, at least puts on the front of femininity, which 13 years later is just kind of worn off. But the only reason why, because you could, after the door was theoretically opened by the cross-examination by Dr. Karen, the only reason why it may or may not have been allowed, when we can only speculate because we don't hear these sidebars at all, but because that it was merely an arrest, that it ended up getting dropped because, yeah, no, you take a look at this. Amber was wrongfully accused. This is Tasia, by the way, given said interview on it. Amber was wrongly accused for an incident that was misinterpreted and sensationalized, by two individuals in a power position. Nice flowery fucking language for, yeah, no, there was an incident, but I didn't really want it. I wanted the attention, I just didn't want to get that much attention. I recount hints of misogynistic attitudes toward us, which were later appeared to be homophobic when they found out we were domestic partners and not just friends. Charges were quickly dropped, and she was released moments later. Yes, and those said claims of misogyny and homophobia were against a female cop who's also a lesbian. So, before we get into the testimony, I just want to go through and yes, the New York Post has provided a nice catalog of all of the public relationships Amber Heard has had, and I figured, yeah, we've alluded to them, so might as well go through them a little bit. So, yes, we have this one here, which, just to set the frame of mind for Amber Heard, in case you don't know, their relationship began in 2008. They came out at, yes, a very popular, very prominent gathering, GLAAD's 25th anniversary event in 2010, even though they had already been in a committed relationship, theoretically, since 2008. The romance was so intense, there's going to be a common through line here, that Heard legally changed her last name to Van Ree during their courtship. Huh, weird. She ended up, yeah, when the couple split in 2012, with Heard reinstating her birth name following their breakup, and then, yes, immediately monkey branched over to Johnny Depp, which we'll get into the origins of here in a moment. And then, after all of that ended up going down, she went over to, at the time, not quite the richest man in the world, but the biggest simp in the world, Elon Musk, who's paid 5 times as much as a contribution than Johnny Depp to the ACLU, but even still $500,000 more than any contribution that Amber Heard has given, which is 0. Anyways, despite the accusations of cheating on Depp with Musk, and while she was still a married woman, Heard insists that her relationship with the tech billionaire didn't begin until her divorce with the actor, and Musk's divorce with then-wife Talia Riley, while both were finalized in 2016. Yeah, no, they just immediately started their relationship after everything was all said and done. Nope, they were totally 100% committed to their respective relationships. It's not like Heard and Depp's relationship formed under similar circumstances, but like I said, we'll get to that. After a year of Instagram moments together, the pair split in August of 2017 because, I don't know, he wanted to go to Mars and some shit, and she had one too many names and needed to just, you know, simplify and get some alien-looking bitch, and she monkey branched over to Vito Schnabel. He's apparently an art dealer or something, so you'd think that that might be a financial step down, but if we just look to the totality of wealth, probably not so much. And then she just decided to, I don't know, finally check out of high-profile dudes and then just hook up with, I don't know, a Judd Apatow extra. Like, who the fuck is this? Like, began dating director Andy Muschietti in May of 2019, but nothing is really known about that, other than they had a couple of bottles of red wine, I don't know, and a little shitty dog. Heavy emphasis on the shitty, because that was the one who pooped on the bed, right? Yeah, okay, cool. And then now, her current relationship with Ellen Degeneres, Bianca Booty. Really? Little on the nose, don't you think? Heard went public with Bianca Booty in January of 2020 after being snapped in a heated makeout session at the cinematographer in Palm Springs, California. Thank God she didn't previously work with Alec Baldwin. Distance between the two... Distance appears to have killed their future as well, as the Mirror reports that the couple split in December of 2021. After having spent months apart. At the time, Booty was working in Los Angeles while Heard was shooting, according to Don Hughes' Aquaman 2. That bitch. At least he gets some sort of fucking laughter out of that abomination. Well, let's get started with the testimony. That's what you guys are all here for, and that was just all the preamble to begin with. So what are you actually here for? Well, Heard taking the stand. And like I said at the beginning, her childhood stuff was rather compelling, but it was really lacking in certain areas. But apparently, remember, this is the worst thing that has ever happened to Amber Heard, right? Not any of the abuse, which you would go on to detail, but nobody can really corroborate. And hey, you know what? Even still, this long after everything has all been said and done, she's still coming up with new accusations, because I was watching some commentary from some people who've been following this much more stringently than I have, just the totality of the events of this. So they know much more in depth as to all of the accusations that Heard is leveled against Depp. And there's been some new ones even added here today. So asked why she was here in the courtroom today. I am here because my ex-husband is suing me, Heard said, referring to Depp, who was in the press witness box, who, again, he really did maintain frame here today, because he was just the entire time, whenever the camera would pan over to him, regardless of whatever Amber was fucking opining about, he was just looking down, either doing his little doodles or drawing or something. He didn't react to a single fucking thing, even though I do recall a furrowed brow at one point, but outside of that, nothing verbal, nothing too terribly physical with his positioning, at least what was on camera. That's the only thing that mitigates how well he received the fucking belabored storytelling, if we're being completely honest. So we'll see. He's gonna have to expect an entire fucking day, because the defense would be out of their mind to allow cross-examination to begin heading into that week off break. The 10 days. They want to have Amber Heard's sob story in the jury's mind, even though if it was received as well as it was for just about everybody watching it, I don't think they'd necessarily want her poor acting to be put on fucking blast for 10 days. But it's going to be better than cross-examination, which we've kind of got a little bit of a glimpse into. The lady who's going to be doing it, Camille is the first name, Camille Vasquez. That's the name of the attorney, right? She's going to be doing the cross-examination, because she's been the one who's been proposing the objections, which have been weird in and of themselves. Apparently, a leading question is no longer leading. If you say, if at all, it's like a leading question supposes the answer within it. Like, say if I'm a salesperson, it's like, what do you think? Or rather, when you were trying on gloves, does the most expensive one fit the best on your hand? That would be a leading question, because if you were asking about which is the best one fits on your hand, the one that you'd suppose would be the best one that's on your hand, right? But then a question like that would get objected to, and then all of a sudden, if you just put, well, how, if at all, does the most expensive glove fit best on your hand? It doesn't change the question. You already know the answer to it, so... But apparently you just say those magical words and that's what happens. And then that gets past the filtering of the judge. But anyways, yeah, back to this. I struggle to find the words to describe how painful this is. This is horrible for me to sit here. Me. I'm just a battered woman with a Stockholm syndrome, and I was just the victim of literally everything, and I was just a good girl who didn't do nothing. That's another through line to her testimony so far. That's just, like I said, the delivery's fine. It's just the vocal inflections, the weird framing of stuff, just her storytelling ability is severely lacking. And you can see why her Hollywood career was at its peak when she was with Depp, but then after everything was all said and done, it went completely off of a fucking cliff. This is the most painful thing I've ever gone through, of course. Heard tells the jury about her childhood, testified about growing up outside Austin, Texas, in a small town nobody has ever heard of. Raised by her mother and father, grew up with an older and younger sister. The older sister apparently doesn't matter, and her younger sister, Whitney, is going to be testifying, and hopefully she's the one who received all the charisma in this family. She testified that her father broke horses, did construction, who Amber eventually worked with. After, of course, she graduated early from high school, and that she had a scholarship to go to a Catholic school as long as she maintained an A average, and apparently was so smart to graduate early from high school and then didn't end up going to college or anything like that. Just a little strange, I guess. But came back to work with her father, who she's condemned multiple times in the past as being an abusive, drunken heroin addict. All of a sudden, he just became the beacon of masculinity and fatherhood. But I'm sure all of that'll come out on cross-examination. Heard recalls the first meeting and kiss with Depp, which, I'm in a committed relationship. There would be no such thing as cheating in my world. Amber Heard told the jury about meeting Depp for the first time while auditioning in 2008 for The Rum Diary, which he was starring in and producing. It was weird because he was twice my age and this world-famous actor. Didn't really look like that kind of stopped you, the whole age difference, age gap thing in your previous relationships and even in your future relationships as well. So, yeah. Heard said, who was only 22 at the time. Huh, really? He had a 40-something-year-old man finding a 22-year-old blonde attractive. My stars, I hazard to believe that would ever be the case. Depp told her personally she got the role, calling her saying, "You did it, kid. You're the dream." The two played romantic interests, and when they had a kissing scene, the lines got blurred, she said. Yes, it didn't feel like a normal scene anymore. It felt more real, Heard told the jury. He grabbed my face and pulled me, and he really kissed me. Didn't really say if that's what the scene called for or anything. Like, if you guys are the two leading actors in the film and it required a passionate kiss, that would, kind of be what would happen. And she was also detailing all of the very special treatment she was getting, as this was going to be her big break. Because prior to that, she was doing some bit parts in larger films. She just had smaller roles. And it's like, oh yeah, my career wasn't really taking off. And it's like, yeah, no, that's pretty fucking apparent based on your performance, at least today. But the thing is, the way that she was categorizing it is, yes, I had a small role in Friday Night Lights, which still gets referenced to this very day. And then a smaller role in Zombieland, same situation. But then I had bigger roles in lesser seen films, like a John Carpenter film that he came out of retirement for. Wouldn't you think that would get pretty significant press coverage? And the first time I remember seeing her, which I can't really place it, and I don't really remember specifically when it came out, Never Back Down with Demotion, Hughes, and Channing Tatum. She was the love interest of Channing Tatum. It was a mixed martial artist film, I think, at the time. So that would have been about the time for The Rum Diary, in honor around that area. Let's just say she probably landed that role not for her ability, but because she was a 22-year-old blonde. Asked by her attorney if Depp used tongue, Heard replied yes with a smile. So yes, she doth protest too much. I just think. Heard turned 23 while filming the movie, and Depp gifted her a vintage bicycle. Didn't mention if it had a seat or not. Depp hasn't looked up at Heard's entire testimony so far, refusing to meet her eyes. Yeah, no, that was one of those other things. Like I said before, it's like that was consistent throughout the entirety of the testimony. For every time when the camera was on Depp or he was visible. But also, there's a lot of little red pills getting dispensed in the early part, and then also throughout the testimony as well. There's no such thing as lesbians. I'm not saying I have first-hand accounts of this or anything like that, but without going into too much detail, and that's a story for another day. And then also, there's no such thing as platonic male and female friends, right? Because they were both in committed relationships at the time, but hey, all of a sudden there was just this wild romance beginning? Weird. And then, of course, the other indication of their budding romance that would have happened at the same time. Heard told the jury about a moment when filming The Rum Diary. Yes, when they were on set. And oh my God, I was finally in a starring role in a big motion picture like this. And when I was doing an interview with Johnny Depp, it's just all of a sudden we were just talking about all of this super obscure poetry, music, films, and books. It's so weird we all magically had all of this stuff all in common. It's not like I did a whole bunch of work behind the scenes in order to get my hooks in because I was just a struggling actress going from bit role to bit role to bit role, and this was going to be my first break, so I wasn't going to miss an opportunity in order to get my hooks in. No, definitely wouldn't be the case at all, because you'd also bring up this whole love bombing thing. That's what the whole bike was. And oh, you got me this rare bottle of red wine that I like to drink, but that's the only thing that I like to do. I was very much against drugs, sure thing. But that's just another little a red pill for you guys to get thrown out there. Don't be the simp up front. Don't be fucking love bombing up front with a bunch of gifts. It's one thing to say some things, but it's another thing to just, you know what, hey, even if money is of no issue, especially for Johnny Depp at the time, don't be fucking rolling out the red carpet with just all the gifts that you can possibly afford. It's not worth it, especially if you're not doing your proper pre-screening with this fucking head case. Also, another sign of not bipolar disorder, sorry, that's one of her fake fucking diagnoses, but borderline personality disorder is blowing up the emotion in a relationship, making it very, very polarized. It's either extreme amounts of love or extreme amounts of despair. There's really no in between. And that was, once again, another through line throughout the testimony as well. So that's why we also brought up the previous relationships that she had as well, because it was just such an intense situation where they didn't have a formal agreement and they weren't married or anything like that, at least for what we could see. But no, she decided to change her name because it was just such an intense romance. And just like how, there was just so much chemistry on the set of Rum Diary, and it was all on it was all on Johnny's behalf, right? He was the one who was doing the love bombing, and I was just the doting 22-year-old. And oh my God, this older man who's an S-tier celebrity is just doting all of this attention on me. Whatever will I be able to do? He kind of picked up the back of my robe with his boot, and I turned around and giggled. He kind of playfully pushed me down on a bed and a sofa, playfully and flirtatiously. Yes, that was after they were sitting alone in a trailer, right? Which again, she's leaving out a lot of context in this, but no. They were sitting down before a shoot, and the shoot called for her to be in a time period specific lingerie, and she was also wearing a bathrobe at the time. And what it was, yes, Johnny Depp lifted up the back of her bathrobe with his foot and said, "Yum. You should probably work on your lines, Johnny. Because you're fairly cool and eclectic, but yeah, you could work a little bit harder on that." But yes, then after that, apparently, because when Amber Heard's telling a story, she leaves out huge gaps in continuity, right? Because all of a sudden she's leaving the trailer, right? And then he kicks up the back of her bathrobe, which I'm not saying everything that she was saying was totally bullshit, okay? Because yeah, this could totally have happened. But then the fact that immediately led to her being pushed on either a bed or a sofa, and it was playful and flirtatious, and he said yum. Again, maybe she's stuck on the word yum. Or maybe he's just that klutzy in romantic situations, because he was in a really long-term relationship right before this or during this time as well. He said yum and lifted up his eyebrows like that. Both had feelings for one another, even though they were in relationships at the times. And I'm sure they didn't have voracious sex at that moment too. But again, she's leaving the trailer because it's her call time. He's lifting up the back of her robe, and then all of a sudden they're on a bed and on a sofa. It doesn't really consistently line up, I don't think. And then, of course, we get into the first of many crying, sobbing, weeping fits. Yeah, that's about as close as you're going to get to any sort of a physical manifestation of tears. I was looking for it. I was hoping for it a couple of different times, but yeah, she's just so terrible. And she was pulling some really weird expressions as well, just this little smirk every once in a while. And then as the testimony started to go longer and longer and longer in the day, then she started to get those weird micro expressions where she was gritting her teeth and also just had these raised brows when she was telling a story of severe amounts of purported violence, which can't be corroborated by anybody. consistently, even by her in some testimonies that may or may not be conflicting with one another. I'm waiting for the cross, like fucking Christmas. But no, she went into this visceral recitation of the first time that Depp ever slapped her. Heard recounted the first time Johnny Depp allegedly hit her, telling the jury, "I'll never forget it. It changed my life." Let me just go ahead and set this up for you guys. This is very important. Pay attention to everything that I'm saying. This is important. I'll never forget it. I'm just leaving out a whole bunch of different details. Now, the two were sitting on a couch drinking, and there was a jar of cocaine nearby. When Heard asked Depp what a tattoo on his arm said, she recalled. No lead up to this. This was just merely Amber Heard just living her best life, just wandering into a situation where Johnny Depp is just blaring loud music. There's a jar of cocaine just sat on a table, and he's just slumped over in a sofa, which is the normal reaction of somebody doing copious amounts of cocaine. They're just normally passed the fuck out, or just, hey, not on an up or anything like that. Whatever. Heard went on to ask Depp what the tattoo said. She recalled. He replied, "Why no," prompting her to laugh, but he allegedly didn't find it funny and slapped her across the face. If they're both sitting down on a sofa and she's like, "What's that on your right arm?" and it says, "Why no?" Is he coming across his body to hit her? Because she didn't illustrate the situation. They're both sitting on a couch. Great. Were you sitting to his left? Were you sitting to his right? Did he backhand you? Was it an open hand slap like that? Like, what are we talking about here? I laughed because I didn't know what else to do. I thought it must be a joke, he said. Oh, she said at the moment. Then she was thinking he would start laughing too and tell me it was a joke. Depp then said, "You think this is so funny? You think that's funny, bitch? You think you're a funny bitch," the actress testified. "I didn't move, freak out, because I didn't know what else to do," she said. "Then he slapped me one more time." Remember, this is the first time that he's ever abused her, and it immediately starts with a 3-slap barrage. Okay, when he's openly using cocaine and she's so vociferously against narcotics, right? It doesn't really compute. But anyways, yeah, I lost my balance on the edge of the couch. So what? He had to come up to deliver the slap? Like, what are we doing here? Okay, and I wish so much that he said that I was just joking. He slapped me for no reason, it seemed like. Yes, and I was on the floor, and then just like some hack shit literary fucking device from a romance novel that you'd pick up at the supermarket, I was just laying on the ground, and I could see that the carpet was dirty. Oh my god, that means, she remembers random details about a traumatic situations. That means that it's true. Johnny Depp got down on his knees and started sobbing after hitting Amber Heard for the first time, the actress testified. Yeah, here's another red pill for everybody. Remember, women unpromptedly will tell you, especially when they're doling out their terrible dating advice, you should be more in touch with your emotions. You should be vulnerable with your partner. Just listen to the rest of this. I will never do that again. I'm so sorry, baby. I thought I put the monster away," Depp said while grabbing Heard's hands, and after he allegedly slapped her. According to her testimony, Heard said that she knew she had to leave, but I didn't want to. "I wish I could stay. I stood up and walked out of the house, and I didn't. I was heartbroken." What's not mentioned here, but was also in the testimony, is she said, "I've never seen a grown man cry before, and I just thought it was weird, and it didn't sit well with me." There you go. That's what you get. Just be more in touch with your emotions. It's okay to cry in front of your partner. And apparently, in this very real, very legitimate recitation of events, even the hypothetical of him crying, which I don't doubt that he probably cried in one of these drug-fueled fucking binges, not saying that it ended in violence or anything, and not saying that she's conflating two different stories to make one horrific situation. If you cry in front of your woman, they are just instinctively going to look at you different. They are going to think of you as less of a man. There you go, even for this crazy bitch. Now we're going to get into some fun name calling. A whole bunch of fun name calling. Amber Heard told the jury that her relationship with Johnny Depp was always intense. Remember, somebody with BPD has a propensity to exaggerate emotions. It's either right at the top or it's right at the bottom. It's always intense. Always intense. Always intense. There was never a downtime throughout her entire courtship. But described how it escalated to become violent and abusive, and it was only on one side. Oh my god, I can't believe it. Depp, she said, began making comments about how she dressed, which, you know what? He's on the right track when it comes to this stuff, okay? But just the way that he goes about it, he has good tendencies. It's just the way that he delivers them. If we can take Amber Heard as anything close to being serious or truthful or honest, it's like, okay, there's a difference. If you guys have a relationship, you shouldn't be dressing like that in public. I'm just saying you should have respect for your man in the situation. You shouldn't be wanting to dress like you're out on the open market, nor do I think you should be dressing like that at all in any situation, but I digress. Began making comments about how I dressed. I'd call other actresses worthless whores. Don't you think you should probably pick up on that? Hey, I think the girls who dress like worthless whores probably wouldn't be the type of girls that I would take seriously. That would be the way that you'd frame it if you didn't want her to dress with her tits hanging out, okay? Just saying, that's a way that you do it. But again, Depp has been just so far up here, just detached from the rest of the world, and he's moving into a situation where his parents were the last of a generation when it comes to traditional intersexual dynamics, and now because there's a global marketplace and he's the first of that generation to come forward and partake in such, those old order ideas don't quite transfer to the new age that we're currently living in, but whatever. He made it sound dirty to be an actress, Heard said. Yeah, he'd probably know the ins and outs of the situation, and if he was going to pull somebody who was apparently cheating in their relationship, wouldn't you think that he would probably have the best practices that are out there? Wouldn't you think that you'd probably want to listen to the guy who has significant experience in the business? Isn't that the man that you're so wildly in love with? Wouldn't you just normally take his lead? Again, there's not a lot of congruency in this. No wonder you get cast in those roles. That's who you are. Depp would allegedly tell her I'd leave the house, and he'd say, well, you're wearing that, kid. Heard recalled of Depp commenting on her outfits. He'd said, no wonder you're getting cast in those roles. Then there'd be a blow up. He'd smash things. He'd love to break furniture, and it would often smash up the place. Again, no corroborating evidence to that at all whatsoever, but yeah, no, you go ahead and you tell that. Heard describes a jealous and manipulative Depp. Right, no, but who's the one who's on tape being manipulative and jealous? Anyways, Heard testified that ex-husband Johnny Depp was deeply jealous and made the relationship a never-ending fight. Remember, the very high and very low. It was a revolving door of accusations. I was an acquaintance with someone, right? And he was accusing me of having an affair with them. And again, if you're theoretically in a relationship with somebody that you love very, very deeply, okay, and you still have a multitude of different friends that you see in private, and then also, yeah, he was very controlling and very manipulative, and I was basically a kept woman. I couldn't go anywhere. I was constantly being ushered around with security. How do you have so many opportunities to go and be in private situations with a multitude of people? If you're worried about somebody else being jealous about you and you think that you have a righteous cause, okay, you would try to mitigate those situations as well. Or you would just leave the situation, but I love him so much. I guess you have so much artistic license when you're just making up these fucking accusations on the fly. She described her time with Depp as almost like it was a never-ending fight. What kept me in is waiting for the other shoe to drop, the sobriety shoe. Yet she would, always constantly reference, but then also undermine as well. Oh, he'd say that he would go to AA, but he never got a chip. Okay, cool. You can't take his allegations and you can't take his story seriously because he doesn't have any proof. But let me just tell you how jealous, abusive, and vindictive Johnny Depp was. Okay, cool. I'm going to try to wrap this up because, just for brevity's sake, because we're going to be here for a while because she's going to get an entire day on direct tomorrow. But Heard told her mom about the alleged abuse, and what's really great about this is, oh yes, I confided in two people. Okay, I confided in my therapist, whose notes are just severely lacking, and then also my mom as well, who unfortunately passed away in 2019, so she can't be asked and questioned in any of these situations. But yeah, no, she told her mom about this abuse, and she got that bruise after Johnny apparently pinned her down by her arm and mercilessly punched her in the face. What's missing from that picture right there? Well, there's a bruise on her arm, which isn't necessarily inconsistent with any digits or anything like that, which are going to play into a little bit more of the testimony here. I'm going to try to speed this up for brevity's sake. But yeah, that just kind of looks like, at best, maybe running into something a little bit more sturdy than just a handprint. But as you can see, not a lot of redness, swelling, or bruising on or about the face if you were getting mercilessly punched in the fucking dome. Just saying. Oh, I just got to tell this story because it was hilarious. She was trying to make this out to just being one of the most traumatic situations literally ever, and everybody else who was in the car, who she couldn't name or anything like that, or reference them, or not like they're on the witness list or anything like that. So this definitely 100% happened. But if it did, it sounds like Cocaine Johnny is one hell of a fucking fun time. Amber Heard recounted a harrowing story. Not really. When Johnny Depp allegedly dangled his dog out the window of a moving car while howling like an animal. Like I said, he's apparently coked out of his fucking gourd, and he's out there howling at the moon. I've never been one to partake in illicit substances in my life at all whatsoever, but I've been known to act a fool a time or two. Don't necessarily say that I dangle a dog out the window, but again, it's kind of hilarious if you're trying to elicit a response from your dog as well, and you're not also saying how quickly the vehicle's moving. You're just saying it's moving, and again, we got to take your answers on this, and this is about the time when she started pulling those hilarious facial expressions like this. This was apparently supposed to be the crescendo, but it just kind of fucking fell flat, if you ask me. Heard describes a cavity search by Depp. Oh my god. Yes, and you're supposed to be disgusted by this very real, very legitimate, very corroboratable situation. Amber Heard got emotional. Didn't cry, didn't really have stuttered delivery or anything like that, but she certainly got emotional. If anger and pursed lips is emotional. As she told the jury about a time in June of 2013 at a dilapidated trailer court in the middle of nowhere where they would go and do MDMA and mushrooms. When Johnny Depp allegedly performed a non-consensual cavity search on her, apparently while looking for his drugs. Heard said the moment began when allegedly high Depp asked me where it is and how long I've been hiding it, apparently referring to his cocaine, she said. After there was also another situation around a campfire where they were everybody who was there, don't know how many people, but there were a lot of people. But then there was this lady who was sitting next to her. Apparently the MDMA or the mushrooms hit her pretty hard. She rested her head on Amber's shoulder. Johnny Depp took that as a personal attack and went over, grabbed this offending lady by the wrist and said, "Do you know how many pounds of pressure it takes to snap somebody's wrist?" It's almost like she went back and she watched an old Steven Seagal movie and decided to pull some one-liners prior to her testimony. Maybe that's why she looked like she had baggy eyes. She was up all night studying some of the greats like Fire Down Below and Under Siege 2. The one on the train, not the one on the boat. But yes, she went into great detail on this alleged cavity search that happened after that situation blew over. They went into their trailer of unknown upkeep where, once again, the battered woman just stood there and took the years and years of abuse and never once fought back in any form or fashion, never hurled any abuse or anything like that. At first, the actress didn't know what to do, he's referring, though he screamed at her, "You know what I'm fucking talking about." Depp started patting her dress before ripping it off and her underwear as well. He then proceeded to do a cavity search. He shoved his fingers inside of me. Oh no. He continued, adding that I just stood there and staring at a stupid light. Yes, another little wall sconce where you can totally believe me in this situation, because I remember just an obscure detail. Oh, there was a wall sconce in a trailer in the middle of nowhere in 2013. Okay, cool. It was very emotional and you elicited a lot of responses, but seriously, if you're telling us all of these traumatic stories in succession where you're just leaving out big fucking details, like there was this one time when Johnny got so abusive and he was so drunk and everything, and I was just a perfect angel who was totally sober and don't worry about anything, about asking me any questions. But no, I was walking away and I got slapped in the face, and it's like, that's pretty tough to do, I guess, unless he's got, it's just an extension arm, or maybe he's got one of those comedy boxing gloves where he just has a little buzzer like Matt Lauer just underneath the table. He'd just press it and then it would just pop out of the box like that, and then you get slapped in the face. But again, it's like, Can you take her at face value? Because her story just keeps changing all the fucking time, or there'd be a big blow up and then all of a sudden I would just make up a situation where I had blood running down my nose, and I've never mentioned anything like that before. And you know that whole trailer and this whole cavity search thing? It was so traumatic, and I remember so many obscure little details that make this a totally legitimate and totally honest story. I didn't decide to bring this to light until my third witness statement while in the UK. Totally definitely happened though, and I can't, you know what, it happened. It's real. There were a lot of people there. I just can't name anybody, and I can't get anybody to come testify on my behalf. But you gotta believe me, because I'm a battered woman. But tomorrow's gonna be fun. I'll do an update on that, and hopefully it won't be as long, because I know this was a long one. She went all the way from after lunch through the end of the day. There were so many little points that she brought up, and I gave her props at the beginning, because she has a palatable voice. I can say that much, but outside of that, the delivery, the facial expressions, the vocal inclinations, and the lack of tears when it comes to trying to cry, it just doesn't land. It comes across as hollow. I'm not saying everything that she said was bullshit. It's just the fact that a lot of this stuff can't be corroborated, and the fact that she's just such a poor actress, it just leaves a lot to be desired. I don't know, maybe tomorrow will be a little bit better. Maybe she'll put a tack in her shoes so she can at least, drop a single fucking tear. With all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.